What's up?
You getting warm now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I gotta take off my shirt here and my
Yeah.
thing in a minute.
tweeting about it, focused on it. So I think it was a huge positive for Trump.
Yeah. So, Sean, a crazy coincidence. I mean, it was a coincidence that the day that this comedian, unbeknownst to the Trump campaign, told a joke about Puerto Rico, denigrating Puerto Rico. I don't really understand why it's a racist joke. Just seems like it's denigrating Puerto Rico, but maybe I don't understand the definition of the word racist. The Harris campaign put out like a 2-minute video from her about Puerto Rico. 3 massively, Bad Bunny and 2 other massively influential influencers in Puerto Rico going on Instagram about it. So if you're the Trump campaign, are you watching this to see if it's a problem? And if so, how would you counteract it besides repudiating what the guy said?
I mean, again, I think they handled it well, right? They repudiated it. And again, it's forward. I mean, look,
their budget. Does they need to up their budget to micro-target Puerto Rican voters?
No, I think that again, I don't think that if the Trump campaign is looking at this and said Harris is going all in on a comment that somebody else made about Puerto Rico, I'd say great. Let's focus on the policies that we touted last night. The final closing ad, phenomenal. His new policy pronunciations, phenomenal. I would say do not get distracted. Don't take the bait. Stay focused.
Why did they bother to distance themselves from that comment?
Because you need to kill it. And they did it great. I mean, Danielle Alvarez was out there last night, right off the bat, Rick Scott and others, because it matters. And you don't want the hit to stand. And I think President Trump and others realized that it was distracting. So they handled it well.
Look, I think it's not that the comment per se, it is part of like this. The Harris campaign is going with the message that we've all discussed of anti-Trump. And we've all been talking about kind of like, is it resonating? Does it work? And what last night did for at least maybe 12 hours was it gave them fresh content. It is new content. It is in with the Trump fans, sign right underneath the person. And it just kind of allows them to put in a new piece, into the churn of why.
Let me just mention one asymmetry, okay, and then we're going to move on from this. When Donald Trump has a rally that the left wants to say is just appealing to the base, it's attacked as just appealing to the base. Kamala Harris has spent a lot in black barbershops and Puerto Rican restaurants. I mean, she seems to be doing a lot of events to, quote unquote, just appeal to the base. I don't think there's anything called just appealing to the base. I think everything they do is simultaneously appealing to the base, also looking for other voters. That's my belief.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, look, we've talked about this last night, Mark. I think sometimes you're right. I mean, you go to a black barbershop, it's going to get paid. I was watching last night being like, Trump is in Madison Square Garden as if he can win New York City, missing the point. The iconic and epic nature of the event got massive coverage. Whatever the $1 million they paid, they could have never bought, right? Yeah. So I think that you're right, that people sometimes misconstrue an event as, well, it's only focused here. Well, we're talking about it. So if you go to a black barbershop, it's going to get a lot more coverage. If you go to Madison Square Garden, and everybody's going to pick it up because it's Madison Square Garden. Yeah. No offense to like Staples Center or something.
Just though to say, what people on the left will say, Trump's appealing to his base by being racist, and Kamala Harris appealing to her base by being optimistic. We're not going to have that debate now, but I want to note that I'm sure that's what people say. All right. There are 4 states that if you talk to people in Trump world outside the 7, they would say we have a chance. One would be New Mexico, where I last Monday said Trump would go to Albuquerque, and now he is. One is Virginia, where Sean lives, where Trump is going on Saturday after he goes to the Penn State game against the Ohio State. One is Minnesota, that it's George Bush in 2000 had this fantasy that they're going to win Minnesota. And one is the state where Michael Graham lives. And Michael Graham joins us now with the results of a new poll, which countered most polling, including some other polls, shows New Hampshire not only close, but Michael actually has. Who's leading in your poll, Michael?
Believe it or not, in a state that Democrats have carried 7 of the last 8 times, the Granite State, Donald Trump has a massive to 49.8 lead. So
you and I have been in colloquy for weeks, ever since Kamala Harris did an event in New Hampshire. And the Harris campaign told me absolutely has nothing to do with worry about whether she'll win New Hampshire. Then Joe Biden went to New Hampshire last week. Again, nothing to do with that. So tell us about what you think is actually going on in terms of your poll and facts on the ground.
So a month ago, New Hampshire Journal would not have published this poll. I'd have gone back to our pollster, which is Jonathan Klingler down at Mississippi State University, and said, there's no way. But a month ago, the polling, St. Anselm and others had Trump losing by about 6.5. And if you told me, and then last Thursday, Emerson came out and Trump was 50-47, losing by 3, margin of error. And then I, of course, every day tune in to the morning meeting, and I heard your reporting on this. I heard Sean's reporting, and I got the numbers, and I was stunned. And we went back. In fact, they dropped 100 samples and picked up another new 100 to test it. And this is where they were. And I said, let's go with it. And I think the two things that are she's just failing. And the other one is, I think you guys have picked up on these subterranean having effects that people aren't looking at, like these fight over trans issues, guys and girls sports. New Hampshire is kind of ground zero for that. We've had a couple of high profile cases. There's a lawsuit. There's a new law. So you put all that together. You said to me, I'll put it this way. If you said Trump's going to lose New Hampshire by 10, I would not be stunned. If you told me Trump was going to win New Hampshire by 1, I would not be stunned.
Sean, question for Michael?
No.
Well, let me add just one more data point, which is we have the most contested governor's race in New Hampshire in the country. Republican Kelly Ayotte, former U.S. Senator, former Mayor Joyce Craig, the Democrat. And it has consistently been a 3 or 4 point lead for the Republican, despite everything else. No competitive congressional races. Those are both going to be easy wins for the Democrats. You know, nothing else going on. She's this island of Republicanism to succeed Sununu. We also have her winning 52-48. But I also think it's interesting that the generic ballot, if you look at our poll and at the other polls, the generic ballot in New Hampshire is tracking Ayotte, not Trump. Trump is consistently under polling the generic ballot. What that tells me is that there are these places like Governor Youngkin in Virginia where the state feel is very different